In section 6, we turn to the verbal conjugation called the hishtafel. The hishtafel conjugation is actually used with only one verb in Biblical Hebrew. However, that particular verb is quite important because it is glossed as to bow down, do obeisance, or worship. It is even debated what the root is with the hishtafel. Most likely, one would say chava, chet vav he, so it behaves as a third he root. However, one could make an argument that this is actually a simple hitpael, however, of a root which has 4 letters instead of 3. Shin, chet, vav, he. The difference between these two proposals need not concern us terribly much at this stage in the grammar. It really is a question of whether one wishes to think about the history of development of the Hebrew language, which would cause one to accept a quadriliteral root, or to view the Hebrew language as a single synchronic slice, which would cause one to view the 3-letter root. Whichever way one wishes to resolve this background and this question, this verb is enough used in the text that it is common and must be recognized. As a final he verb, a third he verb, the endings of the hishtafel should look familiar given everything we've covered in this chapter. The hishtafel does not occur in every person, gender, and number, but the following forms do occur in the Hebrew text. The hishtafel perfect has 5 extant forms. The third masculine singular is hishtahava. The second masculine singular is hishtahavita. The first common singular is hishtahaveti. The third common plural, hishtahavu. And the second masculine plural, hishtahavitim. 6 forms of the hishtafel imperfect are attested in the Hebrew Bible. The third masculine singular is yishtahaveh. The second masculine singular is tishtahaveh. And the first common singular is eshtahaveh. The third masculine plural is yishtahavu. The second masculine plural, tishtahavu. And the first common plural, nishtahaveh. Notice that the endings, and u are the endings you know from third he verbs. And notice that the prefixes are simply those that you already know all the way back from the strong paradigm of the Qal imperfect. Consider these 3 examples. First, from Exodus 24:1. Va'el Moshe amar, ale el Adonai, ata va'acharon, nadav va'avihu, v'shiv'im miziknei Yisrael, v'hish tahavitem merachok. So, and to Moses, and el to Moshe, Moses, amar, Qal perfect, third masculine singular of amar, first verbal form you learned, in fact. And then the quotation begins, ale, a Qal imperative, masculine singular of Allah. Notice, as we discussed in that section, that the tsere is the vowel for a masculine singular imperative of third he verb. Go up to the Lord, and then the pronoun you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and Shiv'im, the number 70, me, which is min. Notice that the noon has assimilated to the zayin, leaving as dagesh, from Ziknei Yisrael, the elders of Israel. Note A is the masculine plural ending of a construct. So this is from, and then the construct phrase, the elders of Israel. V'hishtahavitem. Here we have now a Hishtafel form. In fact, a Hishtavel converted perfect, second masculine plural. And note, as a converted perfect, it will take its sense translationally from the previous finite verb, which is in fact the imperative. So it was go or come up and worship. So this is a continuation of the command. Me rahok, min, the noon of the min as assimilating to the resh, because resh cannot double, causes compensatory lengthening. So the vowel becomes sere. Me rahok, from afar. Second, Exodus chapter 20, verse 5. Lo tishtahaveh lahem, velo ta'ovdem, ki anoki Adonai Eloheka el kana. So you begin with the negative, not, and in fact it's a negative of an imperfect form. So lo plus the imperfect is a solemn prohibition. You shall not tishtahaveh. Hishtafel imperfect, second masculine singular. You shall not bow down, la plus him, lamed the preposition plus him, to them, the and lo, not. Now notice this is ta'ovdem. So this is in fact a hofal imperfect. Remember that when not accented in a closed unaccented syllable, we have a kametz hatuf, and the O sound tips you off that we have a hofal imperfect. And the hofal imperfect then has an object suffix. So a hofal imperfect, second masculine singular of the root avad. Now you remember that avad is a root that has a sense of serving, and eved is a servant. A hofal is both a passive and in this case a causative. You shall not be made to serve them. Ki in this case tells you why, causal, for anoki, the pronoun I, the Lord, I the Lord, and we have a verbless clause, am Eloheka el kana. So in fact, I the Lord your God am a God. What kind of a God? A jealous God. And thirdly, 2 Kings 17:35. Lo tir'u Elohim aharim, velo tishtahavu lahem, velo ta'avdum, velo tizbachu lachem. So again, lo, not. This form is you shall not fear. We will cover, it comes from the root yara, which we'll cover in a future chapter. You shall not fear, a solemn prohibition because it's an imperfect. Elohim acharem, other gods. Acharem is the attributive adjective. So you shall not fear other gods. Velo, and not. Tishtahavu lahem. So tishtahavu, a hishtafel imperfect, second masculine plural. You shall not bow down, la, to them, him. So again, we have a solemn prohibition, a lo plus the imperfect. Velo, and not, ta'avdum, so now a kal imperfect, second masculine plural, to serve plus mem, the third masculine plural suffix. Nor shall you serve them. And again, velo, another solemn prohibition. Tizbachu, kal imperfect, second masculine plural of zavak, which is to sacrifice. Nor shall you sacrifice lahem, to them. When forming a hishtafel imperative, participle, narrative, or infinitive construct, all of which are attested in at least some form, you simply follow the pattern you would expect with a third he verb. Attested forms include the imperative in the feminine singular, hish tahavi, you worship, feminine singular, or masculine plural, hish tahavu, you masculine plural worship, as imperatives. In the participle, the masculine singular form, mish tahaveh, a worshiper, masculine singular, or the masculine plural form, mish tahavim, worshippers. Note, as expected in a derived stem, that you begin the participle with a mem. In the narrative, we have three forms attested. The third masculine singular, vayishtahu, he worshipped. The second masculine singular, vatishtahu, you worshipped. And the third feminine plural, vatishtahavena, they, feminine plural, worshipped. Note that the singular forms have what we have typically called the retraction of the accent, vatishtahu, indicating that you have a narrative form. And then finally, the infinitive construct, hish tahavot, worshiping or to worship. Consider these three examples. First, Genesis 23:12. Vayishtahu Avraham lifnei am haaretz. Vayishtahu is a hishtafel narrative, third masculine singular. So verb and he bowed followed as in normal word order by subject, who? Abraham. And Abraham bowed, lifnei, before, a construct phrase, am haaretz, the people of the land. Remember that construct phrases only mark the definite article on the absolute noun at the end. Second, Genesis 33:7. Vatigash gam Leah vayiladeha vayishtahavu. So we begin with vatigash. Now notice as this form, it's obviously a narrative because it begins va, and then you have a doubling of the first letter, the prefix letter. But this is a good example where we then only see two of the three root letters. We have va, ti, gash. Now the va is the prefix of the narrative. The ti is the prefix that comes from the imperfect forms or the jussive forms. So when identifying this root, we are only left with gimel and shin, two of the three root letters. We then have to decide, is this a third he or is this some other cause? Now notice in this case that the accent remains on the last syllable, indicating that we are not dealing with a third he verb, but instead we are dealing with a root that has gimel shin and one other letter. Note that gimel has a dagesh. Now as a bagad kafat letter, that could either be a dagesh lene or a dagesh forte. When you consult the lexica, you will find out it's nagash as a root, nun gimel shin. If you have forgotten that root from your vocabulary, you may have to look it up. And if you look it up, you must look under nagash to find the correct entry. And she drew near. So a kal narrative third feminine singular of nagash. Also, gam, Leah and her children. Now note it's a third feminine singular verb, but you have a compound subject of Leah, third feminine singular, and her children, which is a plural noun. The verb agrees with Leah because the emphasis is on her, and the children are a secondary piece of the discussion. And then, vayish tachavu, hishtafel narrative, and the narrative now is in the plural, and they bowed down. So the emphasis is now that all of them bowed down. Then finally, Isaiah 2:20, Elilei kaspo va'et elilei zahavo asher asu lo lehishtahavot. So you have construct phrases, idols of his silver and idols of his gold. Asher, the relative pronoun, which. Asu, cal perfect, third masculine singular of a third hay verb, asa, he made. Le for O himself. Le hishtahavot. Lamed, the preposition, for or to, and then hishtahavot, a hishtafel infinitive construct, to worship. So the idols of silver and gold, which they made for themselves to worship.